All right guys, we're gonna make another video for you. And this is one that I've been meaning to make for a while. A lot of people have asked about it. Frankly, it's needed. I don't think there's a lot of great ones out there, but I wanna make a video on how to drive a bass boat. A lot of folks get these boats, there's so much technology, equipment, jack plates, all sorts of stuff on these boats, and frankly they have no idea or just very little idea how to actually use it all. So I'm going to talk about jack plate settings, trim, all of that, RPM, speed, as we run down the lake. I'm going to lower my yellow tech here just a little bit, should still be able to see just fine as we're driving. You're gonna get up on pad and chat about what I'm doing with all the trim and RPMs and everything else. All right. So first things first, kill switch. I just took this off for just a second to go back there and mess with the camera, but whenever the big motor is in gear, or really on, your kill switch needs to be attached to your life jacket. It doesn't matter if it's rough, if it's packed, not packed, just have it on. It is too quick and easy to just disregard and not have it on. All right, so the first thing I do when I'm driving my boat, you should never drive 100% solely based off your map, but I use my map all the time as a guide. And I'm gonna set my map to make sure that I have the perfect water level offset. Right now it looks like the water's 12.95 feet down. So I'm gonna go into my settings. We can just say, you know, get out of here. No, sorry. $13, that's fine. And then I have the red highlight to show me anything that is 5 feet or less. And with the water level offset, I'm able to see, you know, here's a hump. Okay, it comes up really, really shallow. If I just look, you know, I can't see based on the you know, what I see from the captain's seat here that there's, you know, a shallow spot up there. Most of these humps and things are marked, but there are a couple that absolutely are not, and frankly are very dangerous when the water is around this level. So the first thing with driving my bass boat, I'm going to set my map up to where the water level offset matches the map, or it matches reality. That way I have a guide. In this case, I have two Solix 12s. So what I like to do, screen on the left, I like to have a little bit more zoomed out. My screen on the right, I do a split screen so I can see the depth and the map, and I have it a little bit more zoomed in. Now that we got that set up, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna trim all the way down. This is my trim here. And some boats may be different. I know, you know, I had a buddy that fished and he would trim just above all the way down. On my Skeeter, it seems to work best if I just go all the way down. You can do it by the gauge, or often what I do, I can just hear it when it gets all the way down, and I just stop it then. And then every jack plate, you know, has the potential to be different. I have a hydraulic jack plate, TH Marine, and I can set my jack plate really anywhere from 7 to probably up to 14 and still get on pad just fine. You know, I generally will just kind of leave this around 10. You know, this time of year, I could just set it and forget it. I don't really need to mess with the jack plate unless I am in either really, really shallow water and I need to get the motor up as high as I can, or deep water and say it's, you know, it's rough. It's deep, but it's rough. And as I'm driving around, you know, you're hitting these waves kind of coming up out of the water. I will lower my jack plate as low as I can to keep as much of that prop in the water as possible. Just to, one, make sure that I have, you know, control of the boat, but two, I want that the water, the PSI, to be where it needs to be. Generally, mine is anywhere around, you know, I'd say 15 or so. We'll check it here in a second. So my hydraulic jack plate set to 10. Yours may be, you know, different. Trim all the way down. Let's go ahead and give it some gas. I have a hot foot, so to get on pad, I pretty much press it to the floor and then immediately ease off once I get up on pad. And I'm up, now I can ease off. My boat, the Skeeter, you know, I could cruise around 25, 26 and still stay on pad. I generally cruise around, you know, 35 or so. But, you know, with the jack plate set to 10, I'm trimmed all the way down. And right now I'm doing 26.7, no problem. No porpoising, none of that. If your boat is porpoising, you're either going too slow or you're trimmed up too high. You're fighting gravity with your trim being up, and your boat doesn't know if it wants to put the bow up or if gravity is going to win and pull that bow down. So if you are porpoising, trim your motor down. I see this all the time when guys are driving down the lake. I guarantee you what they're doing is they'll trim their motor down to get up on pad, and as they come off pad, they are not trimming their motor back down. They're still trimmed way up high, and they'll start to slow down, and you'll hear them. You can hear them from half a mile. Whoa, 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 whoa. And you'll see this boat, the bow, just going up and down until they finally come to a rest. When you are slowing down, you need to do the opposite of what you do when you speed up with regards to the trim. So right now, I'm still trimmed all the way down. On my boat, what I like to do, I can see the spray from the waves is actually in front of where I'm sitting. Okay, so I've got a visual cue that I know the spray from the waves is in front of me. A lot of my boat is in the water, as it should be. I'm trimmed all the way down. That motor is tucked up as far under the boat as possible. And when that's happening, it's trying to lift the back of the boat up, but in doing so, it's pushing the nose of the boat down. I'm gonna bump up my trim. We're going all the way trim down. I'm gonna bump up. I am not gonna press the pedal any harder. I instantly gained 4 more miles per hour just by getting a little bit more of that boat out of the water. My foot has not pushed the pedal anymore. I'm gonna bump it up some more. I went from 36, now I'm up to about 40. I can tell the spray from the waves is now just in front of me, maybe a little bit, just kind of like right at where my knees are at. My RPMs, they're right at 3,700. Running a wide open throttle. You know, I suggest having your motor, you know, around 58, 5,900 if possible. There's days I'm running wide open and you know, I'm turning a little over 5,600 RPMs. The deeper I have my motor in the water, the lower the max RPM is gonna be. If I jack my jack plate up so much that, you know, I start getting into that 6,000 range, for me, any little speed advantage just is not worth it, knowing that I potentially could, you know, sling a ear off my prop. So we are cruising right at 40 miles an hour, and I'm just under halfway trim. One nice thing about my graph setup is I can see the trim percentage too. So I can either look right here, or I can look here and say I'm 54% trimmed up. I'm gonna give it more gas. I'm gonna go wide open. Hot foot is all the way down. I'm doing 54 miles an hour, 4,900 RPMs. I am getting all 250 horsepower out of this show. I'm only doing 55. The rest is all in the trim. I can trim up, get it up to about 100. Now we're climbing. Now we're 61, 62. About to run out of real estate, but this is what you do. 65. And this is what you need to do if you're trying to get the max performance out of your boat. You got to learn how to use the trim. It is not just a situation where that motor is strong enough to push that boat all the way through, you know, the water without getting that hull of your boat up and out of the water as much as possible. You're really trying to blend the boundary between a boat and an airplane. You need as much of this boat out of the water and as much wind up under the hull to lift it up as much as possible to truly get, you know, well into the 60s. You know, some boats will run, you know, even into the 70s. So when I'm running wide open and say, you know, I get up around 70 miles an hour and I need to slow down, I want to slow down gradually. And as I slow down, I am trimming down. Okay, so when I started, I got on pad, I'd give it a little bit more gas, I would bump up the trim, I got it up about halfway. When I really wanted to open it wide open, you know, push the pedal all the way down, and I'll start to trim up all the way to around 100%. When I'm coming back down, instead of just letting off the gas, it is important that you start to trim back down. You need to put the nose of the boat back into the water so that it'll track straight. You don't want to bow hook or lose control. So let's go kind of walk through that a little bit. I got a big long stretch here. Skeeter's not the fastest boat out there, but I can drive it with my knees going wide open, which makes it real nice. I got a full tank of gas, a ton of tackle. At about 67. All right, so I'm going to slow down. I'm going to let off the gas, and I'm going to trim down, trim and down. Both things I'm doing gradually. Okay, letting off the gas, trimming down. I can see the water. It's back like right in front of me. So now I can really, really slow down. I pretty much come to a complete stop. Now, say I want to pull up and fish a bank, and when I am truly coming off pad all the way, I'm trimming all the way down, and my boat will just come to a nice easy rest. I give it just a touch of gas, touch of throttle, so that wave doesn't crash over my back deck. Some boats it'll do that, some it doesn't. But My trim now is all the way back down, and I've kind of come off pad, come to a rest. So it is really important that when you are speeding up, you're trimming up. When you are slowing down, you are trimming down. If you don't trim down when you're slowing down, you are going to be porpoising like crazy. And I see it all the time, and I can hear it. I hear it all the time with boats coming off pad near me, and I just know that they are still trimmed way up, trying to slow down. What's happening is the motor is at an angle where it's trying to lift the bow of the boat up and out of the water, but you're not getting enough thrust to do that, so gravity's trying to pull it back down. And you have this battle where gravity's pulling it down, the motor's trying to push it up, gravity down, motor up, and eventually gravity wins when you don't have any thrust to keep you going, and then you'll come to a rest. And then I've seen people then trim all the way down, when in reality, you need to be doing that at the same time. Trim down as you're slowing down. So driving with one hand, trying to film, we only got up to about 67 right there. If I really wanted to get it up to around 70, this boat with just me and it will run around 71. What I would do is trim it, all the way up here on the actual trim. Then on my jack plate, what I would do, and I'm not going to do this today because I don't want to be filming and doing this with one hand. I want to be safe and smart. I would start to raise my hydraulic jack plate. So rather than trimming the motor up and down, raising the jack plate just lifts the motor straight up. And what it allows that motor to do is increase the RPMs. So there's a balance there. If you get too much air, too much cavitation, your RPMs can skyrocket, and you would potentially lose speed there, or even blow your motor up, worst case. But if I'm running 56 or 5,600 RPMs and I'm running 66 miles an hour, I can bump up my hydraulic jack plate. I've even bumped it all the way up. 20 is the highest. I bumped it all the way up to 20, and my RPMs will go from 5,600, 5,700, 5,800, 5,900, starting to even get to that 6,000 range. And that's how I go from 66 to low 70s. But at some point, for me, the risk reward just is too much, out of whack. Too much risk for the couple extra miles an hour. Fishing around a lot of these lakes, Allatoona and Carter's, it's not like we're on the Tennessee River right here, and I need 4 extra miles an hour is going to get me back to weigh in time or not. So I generally will max out around 65 to 68, just not trying to overwork my motor for just no reason. All right, we got the little camera filming now, so all right, quick recap one more time. Got my kill switch, got my motor in gear, got my hot foot down there, and we are gonna run down the lake. So there's some fish. Here's an example of my screen set up here. I've got on my left screen a map zoomed out. On my right, look at all that bait fish. My right screen here, I've got a more zoomed in version. I like to have the two. So if I'm trying to figure out where I'm gonna go or see what is way up ahead, I can use my left screen. And then if I just wanna see like what is in my immediate vicinity, I'll use my right graph here. So I'm trimmed all the way down. Hydraulic jack plate is at 10. I'm gonna go ahead and give it some gas. And then we're gonna hop up on pad, so pretty much push it all the way down, pedal all the way down. All right, I'm up on pad, right about 26, 27, 28 miles an hour. We give it some more gas, trim it up, more throttle, trim it up, for 4,300 RPMs, 45, trim it up. Pedals all the way pressed down, and the rest is trim. Right about 100% trim. I'll be careful coming around this curve. my Skeeter that it is easy to drive. In this tight turn, I trimmed down just a little bit at 84%. You could make a hard turn with 100% trim, but again, risk reward for me, it's not worth it. All right, open straightaway, trim it all the way up again, wide open. 64, trim it back down just a hair, go through this turn. Pedal all the way down, trim it back up. About 67. 5,500 RPM. Definitely a lot more in the tank, but no need to push it. I would bump my hydraulic jack plate up higher if I was really trying to squeeze some extra miles per hour out. So I'm going to start to come off pad, let off the gas a little bit, start to trim down. Letting off the throttle, trimming down, trimming down. Back down to about 50 miles an hour. The spray from the water is right about my hip. Coming off pad, say I'm gonna fish this point. Trimming down, trimming down. I'm ready to come all the way up pad, all the way down. Trim all the way down. Nice and easy, no porpoise whatsoever. Give it a touch of throttle. Make sure the wave doesn't overtake the stern. Perfect. So hopefully that helps explain some little intricacies of the trim, the RPMs, what you should be looking for speed, and just how to, more safely drive a bass boat. That's the goal. I've had a lot of people ask, say, hey, my boat, I heard it's just to run 75 and it only runs 55. Well, it's all trim. It is all trim unless there's just something wrong with your motor. But it's a lot of trim. It's a lot of getting your boat up and out of the water. You want all that air under the hull, kind of lifting it up as much as possible. That way your motor is pushing less boat through the actual water. If you're really trimmed up all the way, and the jack plate is set right, you'll likely have a rooster tail coming out the back. You don't want that rooster tail much higher than your cowling. If it is way higher than your cowling, you're likely over trimmed, and I guess it varies on kind of what props and things you have, but really the most ideal, straight, perfect setup is for you to be wide open, trimmed up all the way, your jack plate, hydraulic jack plate set just to where you're in that 58, 5,900, maybe 6,000 RPM range, and the rooster tail around the cowling height, maybe a little bit above, and that's about as good as it gets there. So hopefully this is helpful. Thanks for watching.